Well, good morning, gang. Today we have another Gauntlet review up on the docket table, and this knife really needs no introduction. It is designed by Chris Tanner of PM101 and is built by LT Wright. We got the infamous Jessmuk. Alright guys, welcome back. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate your time very much. So like I said, we do have the Jessmuk up on the table today. Like I also said, this knife probably needs very little introduction to you guys. I will go ahead and do a quick rundown on the specs, but as far as how we're going to give it a workout today, well, I thought of maybe doing some standard tasks. You know me, and I love friction fire. I usually run through that, but I'm going to go ahead and skip that today because honestly, guys, you and I both know it'll do it flawlessly. I have done it. I've built up 2 bow drill sets with it. It worked fantastically. This Scandi Edge from LT, we all know it's rock solid. It does a great job. I could also get into batoning and one-stick fires and stuff like that, but honestly, other channels have already covered that, and I don't want you guys to get bored. So in thinking about it, I decided to take it a little bit different direction today. Now, keeping in the theme of setting up camp, if you're a hammock camper, tent camper, whatever, setting up whatever you're going to sleep in is usually a pretty simple and relatively quick process. The same with a fire. Typically, it doesn't take you too terribly long to get a fire going. However, the time-consuming part of running a fire at camp, whether to stay warm or to cook in a cook stove or something like that, is actually gathering enough fuel to feed the fire as long as you need it. So the direction we're going to head today is we're going to make a wood cart. Let's get going. Just as an FYI, guys, this entire area next spring hopefully is going to be a fruit orchard. These trees are coming down anyway, so I'm just choosing to kind of kill 2 birds with one stone like that. start. Obviously, it took a bit longer than it would have to gather wood for a fire, but at the same point in time, this is a knife review about a bushcraft knife, so I figure why not? Let's craft something. Let's tie this up and put her to work. Okay folks, well again, thank you very much for taking the time to be here today. I would just like to point out that what you saw here today has only been a small sampling of what I have put this knife through in the last couple of weeks. I've been playing with it pretty hard actually, and honestly I have taken a lot of video and I don't know what all is going to make it in this review, but I can honestly say that this knife has taken everything that I've thrown at it with flying colors. There's been absolutely no hot spots on that handle. We'll talk more about that in a minute. It slices, it dices, Ginsu, right? Anyway, it cuts like a dream. It feathers very well. There is a bit of a learning curve to get used to that curve on the belly. It batons well. You can even do small chopping tasks with it, which is fairly unique for a true bushcraft blade in my opinion, because a lot of bushcraft blades don't have enough weight behind them to actually be very useful in the chopping area. And as we're all familiar with LT Wright's work, the spine is aggressively sharp. It is really nice, especially for striking a ferro rod or scraping a ferro rod, excuse me. LT Wright's grind on the Scandi is, I mean, it doesn't really come any better than that in my opinion. I mean, he holds the standard as far as a true zero ground Scandi goes. His heat treat on 01 tool steel, it is rock solid. I mean, LT's reputation, it goes before him, and this knife holds up to that expectation. Folks, the first thing I want to point out about this handle is it is extremely unique. You know, it doesn't, offhand, it doesn't really look hugely different from a lot of the stuff that's on the market today, but it really is. Chris Tanner from PM101, the designer of this knife, which I'm sure you guys know, has come up with something incredibly unique. If you guys have watched my channel and any knife reviews that I've done, almost always I have to come back and say this, and critique the handle and say, you know, it needs to be bigger, which is usually what I have to say, or it needs to be a little bit smaller in this area, or it needs more material on the tail end, you know, back here, you know, something like that. Because I have large hands, you know, I say it almost every review that I do, and you know, I always put that into the personal preference category on a knife goes. I never, you know, ding a knife or, you know, critique it because the handle doesn't fit my hand very well, just because, you know, like I said, I have large hands. Well, this is unique in that this fits my hand like a glove. There has been absolutely zero fatigue with this, no hot spots. I mean, it is probably, you know, I can't say it's the best handle I've ever used, but if it's not, it's a tie. And just to kind of bring that into perspective, my wife is a good bit smaller than me. She's got a lot smaller hands. I asked her to hold this knife and it fits her hand like a glove as well. Probably one of the most unique things about this blade as it's traveled through the Gauntlet is, to my recollection, aside from the thumb scallops here, no one has mentioned anything about the handle not being awesome. So the unique part about that is, guys, that Chris has come up with a design on a handle that fits small and large hands alike. That's unique. I don't think I've ever come across anything quite like that before. Now onto the profile of the blade. As you can see, it's got a nice sweeping belly. We'll get to that in a second. And also the edge comes right back to the, basically right back to the handle, which I really like that. One of the things that I like my bushcraft knife to do is to have that edge that goes all the way back, so when I'm doing feather sticks, push cutting, stuff like that, you know, I get as much torque as I can, which for that to happen, it needs to be able to be in line with your forearm, at least in my opinion. Alright guys, while we're talking about the belly and the cutting profile of this knife, I really like it as a continuous curve. There's not a whole lot of true bushcraft style blades, in my opinion, on the market that have this feature, and I really like that because as you're cutting into the wood, and I'm not on a brace here so I'm not going to try, but as you're cutting into the wood, as you push down, you're always cutting at an angle. And if you need to push through to do like a mass material removal, just flick your wrist and you have a constant cutting angle, which really makes removing material off of a piece of wood or stick or whatever you're cutting. Very, very efficient. Another thing about this cutting profile is if you're preparing food, doing push cuts, whatever, you can rock it back and forth, which also makes it incredibly efficient at doing those as well. While I've got you down here at this angle, obviously this is a wide profile knife, and typically on a blade that has a wide belly and wide profile, as you get up near the tip, it's still too wide to do a lot of fine work with the point. What Chris has done with this extreme drop point here, if that term classifies, he has brought the tip back into more of a crafting style blade, which really allows you, like here's an example. I made this bow drill set a few days ago with this knife. It really allows you to get down in here on your notches and finely tune your notch to make it the most efficient and easily get the tip in there and remove precisely what you want to remove. And while we're talking about the tip, guys, you guys saw that I drilled through about 1.5 inches, 2 inch worth of wood, just drilling straight in there, stabbing, prying. You know, the tip is stout. LT's heat treat is spot on. All right, and lastly, guys, but first I would like to say I apologize about the background noise. My neighbor has decided that now is the perfect time to bush hog his field. So yeah, anyway, the life of making videos. But anyway, as far as the negatives, guys, well, there's two. One is personal preference. The spine has jimping on it. Now, I don't like jimping at all, but you know, that goes into the realm of personal preference, and these are made in batch sets where people basically pre-order. So I feel fairly certain that if you don't like jimping either, that at the time you place your order, you can talk to LT and say, hey, please don't put jimping on my spine. So, and the other negative, guys, you know, I hate to even bring it up, but I mean, I've got to put a tick on this blade, on this. It's a big issue. Quite frankly, I'm pretty upset that this knife doesn't belong to me and I have to send it on to another Gauntlet member. I mean, I don't want to let go of it. But anyway, all jokes aside, I do want to point out that, as in all honesty, I can say if I had to rate the best bushcraft knives I've ever used, this would easily be in the top 3. It is absolutely rock solid. Anyway, guys, the price point on this blade I believe is around 200 bucks, depending on what options, what sheath you get, stuff like that. Well, guys, again, thank you very much for taking the time to be here today. I do truly appreciate it. If you found this video helpful or just plain enjoyed it, would you go ahead and hit that thumbs up button for me? I'd be grateful. Also, if you want to continue to see what's coming down my side of the Gauntlet or what other projects I have in the pipeline, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. And guys, as always, please leave me a comment, ask questions, critique. Anyway, thank you very much, and I will see you next time.